So professional paintball is the upper echelon of paintball, but how does one become a professional paintball team? One of the most respected ways that you can become a professional paintball team is by winning the semi-pro division. So this year, me and my team at Greenville Growl set out to accomplish that exact goal. And we are at the second NXL event of the year, NXL Lone Star Major, and we're here to win. And if we do win, we put ourselves in the running to become a professional paintball team. Alright, so today is match one of the prelims. I'm excited, I'm ready to go. Let's go get it. Our first match of the tournament was against Distortion, an incredibly strong team full of former pro players. And they were going to come out and use those strengths. And we knew exactly what we had to do. Come on! 1, 2, 3! So we came out strong and we won the first 2 points, but the problem with starting strong is it's hard to sustain. Distortion put up 2 unanswered points and we had no time left on the clock. So that meant our first match of the tournament was going into overtime. This overtime match did not start how we wanted it to. Eddie got shot off the break, but luckily we were shooting just as good and able to match it up. And with some good teamwork and picking out some of the players, we were able to push up the field and win the overtime point. This was our first of 4 prelim matches, and how these matches work is that you have 15 minutes and whichever team scores the most points in 15 minutes wins the match. And how you score points is by hitting the other team's buzzer. Once you do that, the time stops, you get off the field, get reloaded, and get back on, and the time starts again. They make brackets of 5 teams, so each team plays the other 4 teams in their bracket, and the 2 teams with the highest records move on to Sunday, which is playoffs. So if we don't play like nerds and we win enough of our prelim matches on Friday and Saturday, then that gives us a chance to go on to Sunday where we can play to win the tournament. But we had to win these prelim matches, and the next team up was the #1 ranked team in our bracket, Nasty. So with them being ranked as high as they were, we expected them to push us to our limits, but what came next, we never could have expected. We made quick work of Nasty, and when I say quick, there was still 6 minutes left on the clock when we scored our 5th unanswered point, giving us the Mercy Rule win. So with us going into day 2, 2-0 in the prelims, we were 1 step closer to our goal of winning this tournament and putting us in a better position to become a professional paintball team. But how does that actually happen? So every year in paintball, the worst professional team is relegated and the best semi-professional team is promoted. I'm pretty sure this is similar to like soccer leagues over the pond, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. How this works is each team gets a points value based on their placing in the tournament. So the first place team will get 100 points and the last place team will get 0 points. There's 5 national X-Ball tournaments every year, and whichever team has the highest points value at the end of the year is the winner of the series. So whichever team in the professional league has the lowest points value at the end of the year is relegated, and whichever semi-professional team has the highest points value is promoted. And just like the pro spot is coveted, there are some other things that are coveted, just kind of like my Another Deposit shirts that I just dropped with Max Sportswear. We only did 30 of these, so if y'all want to support the channel, y'all can go over there and grab them. Or if you're tired of t-shirts, you can pick up some Birdman on Amazon. The link's below, and use the code MattGymRat to save yourself 10%. So the start of day 2, and it's our last 2 prelim matches. So how we did in these would really determine if we're moving on to Sunday or not. And the first team we'd play was New York Infectious. We'd practiced these guys the weekend before, so we had a pretty good idea of what they were gonna do. But the problem with that is they had just as good of an idea of what we were gonna do.
But they don't know that guy just ran through. I got you, JB.
We won the first point in 3 minutes, but the next point was so damn long that it felt like I was watching paint dry. After being in a stalemate for almost 10 minutes, we were able to close out the point and put us up 2-0. With only a minute and a half left on the clock, we were able to hold off Infectious's last push. And that put the boys to 3-0 and pretty much locked up our spot into the playoffs and going on to Sunday. Or at least that's what we thought. We had one last team to play, and it was AP Outlaws. And these guys were gonna put our playoff hopes into question. The Outlaws came out strong and were able to win their first point, but we were able to come back and answer and tie up the score 1-1. After that, we decided to play nerds and get shot a lot, and they gave Outlaws 2 straight points, making the score 1-3. But the boys weren't gonna go down that easy. We brought the match back to tied, and with time expiring on the clock, we were able to put our last prelim match of the game into overtime. How overtime basically works is there's just 5 minutes put on the clock, and whoever wins that 1 point wins the entire match. So we plan to do the same thing we had done the day before and go out there and just win the overtime point. But it did not go how we planned to. We went out there and lost 3 players, and it left just Jay and Mark, and they were on the wide sides of the field, and that was not enough to hold off Outlaw, and they went down the field and won the overtime match, giving us our first loss of the tournament. And this is where things got really interesting. We ended the prelims with a record of 3-1, but the funny thing is Distortion and Outlaw both also had records of 3-1. And with them only taking 2 teams out of the bracket, who moves on? Since we have the same record, it goes to points margin. And this basically means whichever team averages out the most amount of points scored per match moves on. The Outlaws were in the positive. They were at a 1.25 margin, which meant that on average they won each match by 1.25 points. But luckily, we were just a little bit better than that, and we squeaked in with a 1.75 margin, and that put us into the playoffs, kicking the Outlaws out. So the boys were in by the skin of our teeth and on to Sunday. And while we were excited to play on Sunday, the weather was definitely out to change those emotions. This was without a doubt the worst conditions I ever had to be in at a paintball tournament. Every single field was completely flooded. The pro matches got canceled, but everybody else was told to put their snorkels on and get ready to go swimming. So the first match of the day was quarterfinals, and we were gonna play against some familiar faces.
Playing Distortion, we played them in the prelims, we beat them in overtime, expecting a tight match. If we win this, we're on the top 4, and that's what we want. We want to go for that gold. Everything's on the line now. It's Sunday, it's win or go home.
We came out hot. And I mean like really hot. 3-0 hot. But when you're hot, you're hot. And when you're not, you're not. We dropped 2 points and let Distortion get back into the match. And the score is now 3-2 in favor of us with 3 minutes and 44 seconds left on the clock. We knew Distortion had to push. They had to win this point in order to tie it up. So the plan was to get into the snake and hold them off. But with that center being so blocked out, it was pretty easy to get up. So the plan was to pick them out as they went up the center and just kind of hold off the Doritos while the time being. And after 3 minutes, Distortion started to get really desperate and they had to start pushing up the field. And this is where we were able to pick them off one by one and hold off that last push and give us the win in quarters, send us into semis. Here we got matched up against the #1 team in the semi-pro division, Leverage. They had won the first event of the year and they were proving their consistency by showing up in the semifinals for the second time in a row. We had played them the tournament before in Las Vegas and they were the ones to actually knock us out of the tournament, but the general consensus on the team was that they were very good, but we knew that we could hang with them, and so it was time for us to prove that. But what came next is one of the tightest paintball matches I've ever been a part of, and when I say ever, I mean in the history of me playing, I've never been in something that was such a nail-biter of a match. The first point was an eternity, and when I say that, I genuinely mean it. It was 8 minutes long. It came down to a 3-on-2 with Jay and Eddie in the snake and JB all the way on the Doritos side, and Eddie hit one of the most insane shots I've ever seen. And that really opened up and allowed us to close out and win the first point of the match. We made quick work of the next point, winning it in 30 seconds, and we were feeling really good. But Leverage was not going to let us get through that easy. They came out and showed us why they won the last tournament and put up 2 unanswered points, and with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock, we had a decision to make. We went on the field knowing that we didn't have much time, so we had to ride a fine line. If we had won too fast, then we gave Leverage plenty of time to tie it back up. But if we took too long and managed to not win the push, Leverage would be able to score and put us in a really bad position. Leverage came out strong and they got into some very advantageous positions, but we understood what to do in these situations. With some good moves up the middle, we were able to get up the field and peel out some of the Leverage guys, but it was too late. Now with no time left, our biggest match of the tournament was going into overtime. We were able to make all 5 spots live, but so was Leverage, and so everything came to a slow roll. Nobody wants to make mistakes in overtime. If you lose one body, it's a game changer because then it opens up all of these zones. Chris Caputo, the front snake player on Leverage, was able to get into a really good spot in the snake and kind of put us on our heels, but Eddie recognized that there was something that he could do to possibly open up the entire game. With 1 second left on the clock, Austin was able to score the point we needed to put us into the finals.
Hey, trust one another, all right? Know the situation.
New York Wrecking Crew was a team with a mix full of young and also seasoned players new to the semi-pro division. In the 2 previous years, they had won their divisions and earned their spot in the semi-pro ranks. And meeting them in the finals, we knew that they were going to be hard, but we never could have expected this.
Game on. Game on.
It wasn't the finish we wanted, coming up second place, but it happens, and we're one step closer to our goal. And, you know, I'm just excited for the next one.
And I wanted to touch on something. If you haven't noticed by now, I didn't play at all the entire tournament. I didn't step on the field once, and it sucked. It hurt me to my core. Being the competitor that I am and living to play paintball, it was hard to stand there and just not play. You know, there were several times over the weekend I wanted to cry. I wanted to break down and cry, but I had to keep reminding myself that paintball is a team sport. And if I'm not needed on the field, I have to make sure that I'm the best teammate I can be in every other position. But the biggest learning experience I took away from this is that sometimes it's not always your time. And the things that hurt you to your core can make you stronger. I'm not mad. I'm actually really, really happy. We got second. And if I was Coach Ken, I wouldn't have put me in either if we were playing that good. But I was there to experience it. And there's a new fire sparked in my soul, something that makes me want to work harder and be better than I ever have been before. And it would have never been there if I had not gone through this. So just remember that every experience, there's something to learn from. And that's why I kind of live by the motto of another deposit, because everything adds up.